ML Soul of Detroit
presents The Mysterious Traveler, written, produced, and directed by
Marc Bellhauer,
and starring two of radio's foremost personalities.
Shawn Windsor and Marc Bellhauer.
In
Eli Zaret.
In the House.
You asked it around, get the questions out of my face. It's gone.
What are you doing? Come on.
That is not paid for by them. That is paid for by the people of Detroit.
You might be qualified, ML.
I'm not qualified for this job.
Let me tell you something. You want to go right now? Okay? You want to go right now?
Yeah, Elrick does not want to go right now. Hello, boys and girls. Is that what he always says, Sean? Hello, boys and girls?
Hey, kids.
Hey, kids, that's right. No ML Elrick today. He is overseas in England. I don't know why. I have no idea what he's doing over there other than watching a lot of soccer. But that's okay. It should be a tighter show because we do have a professional broadcaster joining us, which I'm sure people heard in the intro. But first, there is Shawn Windsor joining us. It's nice to see you again, Shawn.
Always good to see you. I was taking a little flack.
Oh, boy, here we go already.
Yeah. Well, you know.
What now?
Mike's not here. Or
okay.
He's somewhere. Where is he?
I just said, but that's okay. Thanks for listening to my
but
intro.
Where is he? No, seriously, where is he? What'd you say? He was in England?
England, yes.
No, but where?
I have no idea. I don't know where.
I thought he was going to Scotland, by the way.
I don't know. He told me he was going over to the UK, and he invited me like 3 weeks before, like as if I could just go. All right, see you later, family and work. I'm gonna go over and watch some soccer with you.
I'd see these videos he's posting, and those poor Brits.
Well, they're totally confused as what this.
Well,
job
I mean,
is.
I don't know. I mean, I know they like themselves, but that's a different level with Mike over there. Anyway, no, I was taking a little bit this past week for mentioning a scene out of a story I'd read about John Chaney, the legendary Temple coach, who apparently liked to strip down naked and eat ribs on his bed.
Yeah, which is gross.
Oh, that may well be, but it was a memorable scene about somebody who gets up at 4 a.m, had 6 a.m. practices, and was trying to sort of strip away whatever you want to say about human beings to figure out how you could play basketball and, in the dark and all that. So I didn't think that was necessarily weird of me to say that. That's a memorable scene, right? But I was taking heat for that. Like I'm the one eating ribs on my bed naked.
You were taking heat because you had no problem eating in the nude, and both ML and I thought that was very odd.
I don't do it, but I'm not judging somebody else that does, and I can understand when it kind of strip down to the fundamentals of life.
It's not sanitary.
And coaching. I'm sure that's why he did it.
Two pieces of news I wanted to mention as we're rolling here, because we've been following the Crumbly trials with Teresa Baldus, who's done a hell of a job writing about it.
Yes, she has.
In the Detroit Free Press. And James Crumbly's jury selection starts today, so follow Teresa's writing on that. But the other big news, it's made national news locally, is this giant explosion in Clinton Township. It's is it a vape factory or warehouse that went up? Did you see that explosion?
I did.
It was massive, and now it turns out that a teenager was actually killed from some of the shrapnel or the, I guess, what do they call it? The accelerants that exploded. One hit him and killed a 19-year-old, but pretty wild story out there. Just anybody that's seen the news this morning has seen this giant plume of smoke and fire, and everybody sounded like thunderstorms. So pretty wild story. And
that was an awful. Awful. There've been a few of those though. There was an explosion in Ann Arbor a couple of weeks ago.
That's right, a house. There was one in Detroit too, which I think is a meth factory.
Well, Well, the one in the one in Ann Arbor, I think, was a propane heater.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yep.
But it's funny because a couple of weeks ago, I walked out late to move my car off the street into the driveway. I think it was garbage night or something.
Okay.
And I saw my neighbors. This is like 12:31 in the morning. I'm kind of a night owl. Part of it's the job. Anyway, I saw my neighbors getting out of the car. I thought it was odd. The whole family, the young kids and the cat. And he gets out and he says, "Yeah, there's a gas leak. There's some kind of gas smell in my house." And I called DTE, and they say they're on their way. And I went back in the house, and the first thing I started thinking about was, okay, can I sleep? And what's between my bedroom and, because it's just a driveway that separates. It's kind of like where we are now, right? The houses are fairly close together. Uh-huh. We have cement walls, but still, you think about. I was thinking, okay, can I survive an explosion if their house blows up? Can we stay here or not? Is it smart to go to sleep right now knowing that he said there's a gas leak.
It might not be smart, but it's definitely easier just to go to sleep.
No, I know, but so you sort of take that, you weigh the risks of am I being silly or stupid here or not, or is this?
Yeah, but in the end, you end up doing what is easiest, which is just going to sleep.
Well, no,
the house wasn't going to blow up.
No, but I knew my house is made out. It's like a old country house. It's all cinder block. So
fine.
I thought, okay, I should be okay. If it were just studs and drywall and siding on the outside, I probably would have checked out. Not checked out, but gone and checked in.
I can't believe that you were actually sitting there pondering that for that long.
Why not? What would you do?
It's so rare. I'd go to bed. I'd go to sleep. If it's my time, it's my time.
Yeah, but there have been a couple of explosions in the news lately. One not that far from where I live. Of course, that was propane.
Then odds are
propane related.
Odds are all the explosions are done, so it's not going to happen again. Right? Play the odds.
I mean, who knows what's going on?
They're so ridiculous. All right, let's bring on our guest, a radio veteran, a TV veteran. I found out today, sometimes columnist, a author, book author, and I don't know anything else to say about you, Eli. Anything else on your bio?
Not really. I mean, you did it. I'm a radio and TV guy from
a friend. Can I say friend?
Absolutely. Yeah. Coworker. How about that?
Have I ever told you about the first time I ever had an interaction with you back in 1997? Look at the look on his face. Are you frightened?
Was it when we did the locker room took on Drew and Mike in the electric football?
I believe you were still doing call-ins at that time when I started producing. I think you were still calling into Drew occasionally to riff. Do you remember that?
Maybe not. No, not really.
I think it was a long time ago. And I've always said you can really judge people with how they treat producers. So the first time I called you, you were in a really bad mood. And I was like, oh, okay.
You've always said that?
This guy, huh?
You've always said that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's what I was. I was a producer, so I knew the way people treat the lower people says something about them. So I was like, oh, boy, that's Eli Zaret. I watch this guy all the time. Why are you so cranky? And so the next time I called you, I was there's some trepidation there. I was right. And you were incredibly nice. And you're like, who are you? And you started asking me a bunch of questions. So it's like, oh, okay, that's
the real Eli.
Exactly.
Well, you have to. I'm always amazed when people don't treat producers well. There's people behind the scenes that you need to make you look and sound good. If you're on radio and television, treat people shitty, and they're not gonna give to you, because especially when I got into television, there's so many people responsible for how you look. Does a guy give you the right cue? Does the engineer roll the tape at the right time? Does the director take away your time or add to it, or a tape doesn't roll? So there's a lot of people that you're dependent upon. And I was always amazed when people treat the people behind the scenes shitty. I mean, you need them. We're all in this together, and you should be very thankful as an on-air person that you're there. Hey, I'm very thankful today. Think of it. I'm going to be 74 in 2 weeks, which I really can't believe, because I don't feel that old. But the fact that I'm even doing a podcast,
I can't believe that you're 74.
Listen, nowadays a 12-year-old with an iPhone can be a media star on TikTok, shooting, producing, posting, editing their stuff. When I started in this business in 1980. If you wanted to produce a video, you needed a $20,000 camera. That it was to make it even worthy of being on television. You needed a sound person. You needed an editor. You needed a radio or TV station to let you do it. And now everybody is their own brand builder and producer. It's fascinating. So when I started out, I wouldn't imagine that in my mid 70s there'd even be a role. You know that I just did the research this morning. There were 21 million podcast episodes produced last year. So you go to where now, and I don't understand, and I doubt there are 4 million podcasts. How many can actually make? How much time do people have to consume even the tiniest fraction of the media that's available? It's everywhere. You asked me if I saw Jason Kelsey's news conference. No, because it just, where do I fit that into everything else? So I'm just amazed at how much media there is, how many people are in it, and how it's become ageless. You got people in their 70s that can be doing, viable work, and people in their teens that are making millions of dollars. So it's a fascinating business. So, but to go back to the beginning, I got a little nervous because I always wondered, did I treat people shitty? Was I in a bad mood that day? Was I more of an ego back then when I got a little more mature? So
did you really think I would bring it up if it was a bad story? It was just funny. The first time I was like, oh, yeah, I think it was one of those things where it's like, let's just, because when you're ready to go, you're ready to go. And then after that, it was, very more friendly and forthcoming. I don't know. I always think back on that. It's like, so never judge interaction based on the first interaction. I also enjoy, things that Eli doesn't understand. And one of the ones we were talking about earlier is kind of off of that and the segmenting of a population now in media consumption. And you were talking about Julie Hines' article and what is going on with TV, because is it just that there's too many options? Is that what is so confusing?
You've gone to where when I was in the 50s, when I was growing up, you had basically 3 networks and maybe 1 or 2 local stations. So I Love Lucy had to be it had to be mass appeal because it was mass media and there was very little of it and massive audiences watched it. Now it's become the opposite, where it's very targeted, branded, and segmented. I mean, 50 years ago, there was no way for Olivia Dunn to do backflips and get 2 million people to watch. And so the growth of media, and as she said, it's become chaos. And it's true. There's 185 stations on Xfinity. There are 4 million podcasts. There are, so it's everywhere. And I'm just amazed that I think it's harder to make a living today almost than it was back then. You wonder how many of the 4 million podcasts make any money. So media endlessly fascinates me.
It's also kind of ruined comedy in a little bit of ways too, because there's no more shared experiences. I know somebody was watching SNL and they did a bit on the floor, and it's like, I don't know what the floor is. Or they did a bit on, and I know, Shawn, you've seen this, the what's it called? Is it the Truman Capote show? The Swan, Truman and the Swans.
We stopped 2 episodes in.
But really? It's very good. But the point is, nobody watches the same thing anymore. There's not going to be another Who Shot JR. There's not going to be...
No, not to that, or the ending of MASH or whatever. No, not to that level. But there are still some...
Yeah.
What's funny is that even today's hits are still only watched by... I mean, what's a big hit that's... what's a number for a big hit? A few million people?
10 million now. But it used to be 50 million.
Yeah, that's my point. I was going to say 7, 8 million. Yeah, so 10 million people. That's a lot of people. It's enough to gain a fair amount of traction in the culture. But you're right. It's not 50 million people.
But there's
but there's so many little media entities that have 500,000 people or 1 million people, which like Jake Paul and Olivia Dunn. If you have 1 million followers, that is a huge. That's a huge audience that you can monetize, and so yes, the Super Bowl gets 120 million people. There's very few of those, but you can still, by branding a specific thing like a gymnast or a kid opening Christmas presents, there's incredible opportunities if you have a narrow focus on something. I'll tell you the well, whatever. I don't want to get into the whole branding thing. It's too deep.
By the way, Eli, you mentioned the Super Bowl. You're right. There's nothing else like the Super Bowl, but it makes me think of this. There's no other sport that obviously come close to the NFL, and you and I have talked about that on this very podcast in the past. The NBA, though, think about the NBA. You're talking about TikTok, and we're talking about social media. The NBA numbers have fallen year after year after year after year. The finals ratings, the playoffs ratings, the regular season ratings, they've gone down, 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 down. However, the NBA remains much more culturally relevant and talked about than baseball or hockey because of social media. Mm-hmm. Because they are, and we see that at the Free Press. The Pistons are, let's just say, they're terrible. But we can still write about a very, very bad team and have it gain some traction because of that social media presence. We've just started to write about the Wings, and even now it's kind of hit or miss. The Tigers is a little bit different story, but it's interesting how, for whatever reason, the NBA is tapped into the changing landscape in a way that baseball and hockey have not. Football doesn't matter. The NFL is the NFL, right?
Yeah, but you're right. There's the tentacles or the spikes, the spokes that come off it. So LeBron James scores 40,000, gets his 40,000th point. There were probably, I don't know how many people watched that particular game, but you're right. The post-game comments, the snippets, the tweets.
It's everywhere.
The highlights, the ESPN,
And does anybody know who won that game?
Slice and dice it a million ways.
I have no idea.
Who won the game, right? Nobody knows. And that's the point with the NBA. No, it's true. It's a star-driven league, and that's what TikTok is.
So why do they do so well on social media? Is it the culture of it? I mean, people like like urban culture, black culture, or is it because they don't wear helmets? Or
I think there's a few reasons. I think that's part of it. It's tied into music in a way that no other league is, right? It's tied into entertainment. There's crossover. It's a celebrity league in a lot of ways. So it ties into the celebrity culture. I think
there's also, even though it doesn't have the mass audience for a particular game that the that the NFL does, it is still millions of people, many millions of people, and even if it's only 3% of the population, that's still 10 million people, and that's a lot. And you've got all the spin-offs from it, and all the sales from it, and all the sponsorship. So it reaches out. Okay, and take a TikTok. In fact, Drew was talking about this when somebody hosted Saturday Night Live, and he hadn't heard of them. But that person may have 3 million followers, or that person was on a Netflix show that had 1 million or 2 viewers. So you don't have to get the entire country to watch you to be successful.
No, you
look
don't.
Look at the Drew and Mike show. 99% of all podcast listeners in America have never heard of that show, and yet if 1% do, that's enough to monetize it and get very wealthy. So that's what it's come down to. And so you have to brand yourself,
and that's the
into
key.
A little category.
And the branding, and you mentioned or used the word earlier, tentacles. And just get back to the NBA for a second. Think about the other part of the NBA is that it's part of our, for better and for worse, national political conversation. It's the only league that's like that. China has something to
football.
Football to a degree,
NFL, but yeah.
But if somebody on Fox News says, "Okay, shut up and dribble," well, then there are NBA players that have political stances. That is Steve Kerr, Greg Popovich. So both sides of the political spectrum are involved in the NBA and make the NBA a talked about entity, even if they're not watching the actual games.
Sure, you get Stephen A. Smith will make a 2-minute rave. That'll be anybody who goes to the ESPN website is going to see that, and so things get which is the beauty of the way it used to be. If you missed the TV show, you have to wait 3 years for a rerun, and you couldn't see it again. Now everything is available all the time, and so if you hear about something happen in an NBA game, you'll go back and look up that play or that what happened, and there's a sponsorship attached to that. So the money is constantly flowing in through all these little tentacles that reach out there that are sponsored.
And I was just going to say, it's interesting that baseball and hockey have not been able to achieve that.
Well, baseball,
I think they have. It's just it's a different cult. It's a different cult. I don't watch a lot of hockey, but there are people who are intimately involved every day with websites and shows and special
for sure.
writers that cover their team. It's so
for sure. But I'm just talking about in terms of the players, the celebrities, the national level conversation about the league, whether people are watching or not.
Yeah.
It's just interesting how that's
Yeah,
people tune into those sports because they want to tune into the sport.
Well, it's fascinating that you bring that up regarding ratings because people are paying attention more to the extracurriculars or the drama behind the game.
Exactly.
When it used to be the game. And I think a good example of that is what happened in Iowa with Ohio State and Iowa women's basketball, which got a lot of viewers, more than I think any regular season NBA game has gotten so far.
Oh, sure.
And it's all because of the storyline that has been built up about Caitlin Clark. And I know a lot of people, she's a great player. A lot of people love her. She can shoot, smaller ball. She can shoot as well as anybody. But I think a lot of people were interested in it because of the narrative that was built around it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. She became, through many, many media entities writing about her, talking about her, showing her highlights. She became a phenomenon. And so then everybody gets in on the act and it kind of gears it towards their particular media. So Fox, which did the game on Sunday, played it up to a ridiculous hyped degree. And the whole thing comparing to Pete Maravich, it's a contrived story. It's comparing it's a false equivalent that is contoured to make more money and sell more and get more eyeballs watching.
Wait, what's a contrived
I thought the whole
story?
thing. I thought it was an insult to Caitlin Clark and an insult to Pete Maravich to link the two. It was unfair to both.
Why
She should stand on her own. Well, she should stand on her own as a unique player and the first of her kind. She's got nothing to do with Pete Maravich other than the fact that the two of them shot a ball. The whole thing is contrived. Stats are contrived. You know that, and it's a false statistic. You're never going to see an all-time list of the greatest scorers and have Caitlin Clark come first. It was contrived for this particular time, this particular event, to as Mark said, to make a storyline. And if you watch it, and I've been doing this, so the immortality. Gus Johnson must have said immortality 10 times. What the? Where you come with immortality? Or just these grandiose comparisons that are just
over the top,
fake,
over the top,
phony, fake, contrived. Yeah, over the top.
Sean.
Well, the ratings were huge last year when Iowa made the run through the tournament, right?
Yeah.
Because it's. I don't think it's really all that complicated. She's thrilling. If you like basketball at all, she is thrilling to watch.
But don't you think it?
It's really that simple.
You don't think the comparison to Maravich though lessens?
What she's doing. You mean?
Yeah.
You mean how groundbreaking the way she plays is?
Yes.
I wasn't old enough for Maravich, right? I mean, when he was at LSU, I've seen highlights. Maybe it felt similar to folks that remember that. I don't know, Eli, right? The way he played felt groundbreaking. Maybe that's the similarity.
Well, the similarity was made regarding the number of points, which is artificial anyway, because you just can't compare. There was no comparison. One played more games. One's were smaller ball. One is playing against people who are 5'6", and he played against people who were 6'6". It's a whole. There was no 3-point line. There were 10 asterisks that you'd have to use. But for the sake, as Mark said, of a narrative, of a story, to build it and to create the most interest possible, it's exploitive a little bit. But yeah, I don't want to say that it insults her, but it was level.
I still think it lessens it though, because you're inviting everything you just said, all these comparisons, which lessens her accomplishment of all the points that she scored, because, well, she's not Maravich, she's not a man, she uses a smaller ball. And it's just, I don't know, it's just over the top as opposed to just saying, hey, here's a great player. Her team's number 6 in the nation and Ohio State's number 2. And it goes back to your point, Sean. It's not about the games anymore. It's about the personalities and the storylines, which is fine. And that kind of leads to what happened with Jason Kelsey yesterday.
Yeah, but real quickly, until somebody comes along, Mark, and that compels you to watch them, where it may not be about the whole game, but you want to see the creativity. You want to see the actual playing of the game, and that's what it is with Caitlin Clark.
Let me ask you this.
You're right, and she's maybe a better passer even than a shooter. She is a remarkable all-around player.
The ratings went through the roof last and set records for women's college basketball last year because you couldn't take your eyes off of her if you like basketball.
Who won that game?
LSU.
No, who won Ohio State? Iowa. I have no idea.
Oh no,
Iowa won.
But
Iowa hasn't been quite as good this year, right?
I don't know.
From what
I've watched one game, and it was the few seconds on.
No,
Sunday.
but you were talking about at the top of the show. Can we still have a shared experience? Every once in a while, all these tentacles Eli's talking about yes, it's all true. We're fractured, but every now and again, somebody comes along. Caitlin Clark's a great example. That's so compelling that we want to stop and watch.
And let me throw this in. Why is it? What has happened to society where everybody just wants to have a piece of it? They're lining up for tickets. They're paying ridiculous amounts of money. Mm-hmm. The game is on television. Where there's such a desire to be there, to be a part of it, to smell it, to touch it. How about the woman who knocked her over when they played Ohio State the first time, running on the court with her camera videoing the whole thing? It's like people are desperate to be a part of something.
That's always been true. Right?
What?
That's always been true.
I think
right?
I think it's a lot different now that everybody has a phone that has a camera on it and a social media account. It's all about clout and look what I'm doing. And
Well,
Look
maybe
at me,
so,
I'm
but
here,
the
right,
40,000 people that want to jam into Yankee Stadium or whatever to see Babe Ruth, it's
yeah, but you had no other that's
radio. You had radio, but I'm just
it's a little different though.
no.
It's a
But
lot
relative to that time, those people wanted to go see it in person.
I think
We've always been that way.
I still think it's more people. I think it's become more about the individual. Like I was there, check out my post or one of my what did you say, 81 million podcasts.
I would bet you plenty of those people went in their fedoras and their suits and ties, and they didn't have social media, but they had regular old fashioned sitting around going back to your work or whatever. Yeah, I was there. It's just on a smaller scale. It's just not amplified through the ether.
That just reminded me. One of the things about humanity I will never understand is how people ever attended a sporting event in a three-piece suit and tie. It is in the middle of
in
August.
a wool suit in 80-degree weather with a tie on and the top button buttoned and the hat on.
Okay, back to Jason Kelsey. Sorry.
No, once again, I think the coverage of Jason Kelsey, his retirement was huge. It was all over the place yesterday, and I think a lot of that is still a little bit of the Taylor Swift, Jason Kelsey, the fact that they have their own podcast. The guy is going to be a Hall of Fame center, but how many centers can the average NFL fan name? And once again, it's because of the storyline of his brother dating the world's most famous entertainer right now, I think. I don't know if you guys...
Plus, they have a popular podcast. But what was interesting is that everybody wanted to cover it and be there, and yet it was really very boring. He cried most of the time.
Really
he
weird.
read everything. Here's a guy with the two of them have great sense of humor. He read the whole thing. It was painful to get through it all. I didn't really want to hear about every strength and conditioning coach and every junior high school coach. I mean, it was great for him, but this was more of his just venting his or spilling his guts in to talk about his career, and he's very emotional and all that, but it was not compelling video or television. It was incredibly boring, actually.
In sports, it's really interesting because a lot of times there's forced retirement. You don't get to decide when you're stepping down, so it's kind of cool that he actually got to do that. Eli, you've been forced retired a few times, haven't you?
I've been fired. I was fired 6 times.
That's another way to put it. Yeah.
But that's not so unusual in my business.
Is that really the Taylor Swift effect? I mean,
I think a lot of it is.
Part of it is, but to Eli's point, their podcast was popular before the Taylor Swift stuff got out.
Not like it is now,
Right?
though, man.
They were doing Campbell's soup commercials before Taylor Swift. They were doing national television commercials before Taylor Swift.
Well, Travis has been brilliantly promoted. I mean, Travis hired a whole marketing group about 2 or 3 years ago that has put him, in all kinds of situations. He's benefited from the Chiefs. He's benefited from his personality. He's a great player, but other than that, he's kind of a manufactured product done by.
No, for sure. But his brother's part of that, and the mom is even part of the story. Taylor Swift took all that, and it was exponential for sure. Yeah. But that was to some degree already there. And you're okay, fine. It was boring, whatever. You know what I saw yesterday? Again, getting back to social media, I saw a photo from the side that showed Jason and showed Travis sitting there, and he was crying too for his brother. And it was a really, really great photo. And that's all you needed to know about it. That was it. You didn't need any words. You didn't need to hear anything.
Right.
If you see that photo, you're like, yeah, life change is hard. The end of something is really, really hard. When you love your brother or your sibling, your sister, whatever, you feel sometimes what they're going through. That was really, really moving, actually, that photo. And that's all I needed.
Yeah, athletes live their lives in reverse. They reach the peak of their professional success in their 20s often. By the time they're 35, they're really washed up. And then how does life go? What happens after that? So to give up what you've done all your life and worked for, we're just starting to get better in this business when we turn 40, and they're done.
Well, not me.
What?
You, not me. Maybe Mark.
You know that you're more experienced, you're better, you see the field better,
I'm
you
fatter.
are much better than you were 10 years ago. I don't know how old you are. I mean, you probably look older than you are.
Do you think you're better now, Eli? Is it just because you don't have the certain pressures of making money or meeting a lifestyle, or I mean, do you see it the same or differently because it's not a job so much to you anymore?
Well, I don't know if I'm going to say that I'm better, but I know that every year that I did it, I got better. I would look at what I did the year before, and it wasn't necessarily as good. The difference for me now is I'm not chasing anything anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for the next rung. I'm not auditioning for the next job. I'm not worried about my retirement account. I'm not concerned about who's coming up behind me that may cost me my job. All these things, when you're chasing financial security, when you're chasing to get to the next tier in your business, that's all over. So I spend more time looking in retrospect and perspective on where I've come. And like I said earlier, when I was talking to you about Tim Allen earlier, and we're talking about comedians and how 40 years ago, when Tim got out of the Slammer and was trying to look at career, unless you were on the Carson show and you were a comedian, you had no way to expose yourself. There was no cable TV. There was no streaming. Now we got, and so, he had to somehow work the comedy clubs, hope that some network TV people that were looking for talent would find him. And it took him 10 years of doing that, or even more than that, before he got his shot. Now there were 200 Netflix comedy specials in the last 10 years. That's what I was complaining to you, because Shawn, they mentioned, we started the last Drew and Mike show I was on, and they're talking about Shane Gillis. I never heard of Shane Gillis. And they're talking about him like, he's on SNL before that, and he did this. And so I'm looking at him and thinking, this guy isn't even funny. But, there's a greater need and a greater demand. And I don't know where I'm going with this, but I'm lost. Go ahead.
That comedy isn't funny anymore.
No, I'm lost too. By the way, how old do I look?
Oh, great.
Well, the fact that you don't have hair really holds you back.
I know, but I have a little bit on the sides
and the shoulders.
I have been increasingly on my back.
People tell me that I look longer than I am because I still have hair. But I don't know. I don't want to.
No, you're not going to insult me. I promise. I'm not worried about it.
You've told me, and I don't even remember
55.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's not a bad guess at all. Well, what about Mark?
Oh, come on. Everyone knows how old I am.
How old is Mark?
Mark's about 45.
48. Just turned
Mark's 48. I'm 57.
I'm 48 with Eli's 74-year-old mentality. I'm done. I'm done chasing things. It's just I'm at that point where
I'm not older than I look. I guess I am, maybe a little bit. Just by a couple of years.
You're so youthful.
I am.
Your attitude is very youthful.
My attitude is terrible. By the way, thanks a lot for your patronizing way when at the top of the show.
What?
Shawn, you just be you. Let the adults over here handle the board, handle the show, handle the breaks, handle the sponsors, the God forbid set pieces that Mike makes us do. Do we have to do those today?
Yeah, we're going to do them today because he actually sent a song in. And I have a Geek of the Week, too. I'm sorry. You're just going to have to power through it, Shawn. I don't want to know what you're going to bring to the table because it's always so weird.
What do you mean weird? There's nothing weird about eating ribs.
In the nude?
I mean, I don't do it.
Well, Eli, do you think it's
Eli didn't weigh in on that. John Chaney eating ribs in the nude.
In private, who cares? I mean, we all do things in private. We all scratch ourselves in places we wouldn't in public.
Spoken like a true libertarian.
Never coming to your guys' house. It's gross. Yeah. Hey, if you want to be independently financially free like Eli is, why not give a call to the Doctor of Personal Finance? That's Luke Nowacki. Nowacki can prescribe an investment strategy tailored specifically to you, from annuities to retirement accounts to college savings, all that stuff. Call Luke. Luke Nowacki at Pinnacle Wealth Strategies and schedule a personal exam of your financial health. Nowacki might not know about kidneys, but he knows his way around the financial markets. 248-663-4748 for Luke.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through
Mosaic Wealth.
Inc. Member FINRA SIPC.
Mosaic Wealth.
Inc. is separately owned, and other entities and/or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent.
Mosaic Wealth.
Inc.
And if you want to be able to see as good as Eli, everything's going to be related back to Eli. You should give his good friend, Dr. Yaldo, a call. We've been hit with a lot of feedback. The latest one is listener Sean Andrew, who wrote to the show saying that he had a 6-week checkup after multifocal lens replacements from Yaldo Eye Center, and now he has better than 20/20 vision. That's what Eli always...
Fantastic.
Eli, you always rave about how great your vision is and that it's better than 20/20, both near and far. This guy is a pilot, and vision is his career, and he had LASIK in 2008, and his near vision was fading because it happens to everybody, right, Eli? Around 40?
Right, yeah. That's the thing. Most people can get 20/20 vision with good glasses, or you get a fresh prescription. When you get to 45, though, and you can't see the little stuff, it's called presbyopia.
Oh.
And so you need reading glasses and bifocals. The brilliance of what Shawn Andrew did and this other guy, Dana Wolf, is because they're older than that. They get these implants that not only give you the 20/20 vision at a distance or better, but you can see the little stuff. You can see everything and don't need any artificial impediments on top of your eyes. So that's what they're excited about, and that's what Yaldo offers, these multifocal implants that give you perfect vision up close and far away for life. Check it out. Just give them the call at 800-398-EYES. Go to the website, yaldoeyecenter.com, sign up, get a free evaluation, and see if you can throw all that other garbage in the trash.
Beautiful. And then you'll be better. I'm just trying to find a weird way to segue into Zot. I guess you'd be a better driver with better vision, right? Right? That's our friends at Zot Ford in Holly. They continue making buying and leasing as well as servicing your car, truck, and SUV. Fun, fast, easy, and affordable. I mean, a lot of people don't like going to a dealership because they feel like they're going to get screwed, but not at Zot. Like I said, very, very loose and laid back showroom. And right now, Zot Ford, they have something that most dealerships don't. That's the new Ford Maverick, full-size Ford Broncos, and diesel Super Duties in stock and ready for immediate delivery. In addition, right now, when you see our friends in Holly at Zot Ford, you can get 0% financing up to 60 months. That's 5 years, or you can get up to $10,000 cash back on select new Fords that are in inventory. Plus, Zot's leases are still ridiculously good. Payments under $200. You can get a car under $200. We're talking about the 24 Ford Escapes and the Ford Edges, or you can get lease payments around $300 for a new 23 Ford Bronco Sport or a loaded F-150 Super Cab. All from our friends and studio sponsors, Zot Ford and Holly. Support this little show by supporting them, and be sure to say, ML sent me when you walk into their showroom. Yeah, just name drop Elrick all over the place. Eli, hang by, because I do definitely want you to participate in Sean's second favorite segment.
Oh man, the geeks have inherited the earth.
Did I do that?
What a dork.
Does him wanting to play with us again mean that he's turning into a geek, or we're turning into cool guys?
Now, I've been one of those guys that's been a defender of college football expansion, right? And NIL and everything, the way college football is going, I've had no problem with it.
Wait, is this a sports show now?
Huh? Well, why not?
It's a media show. It's a media show.
Yeah, you're here. Just hear me out.
Okay. Okay.
But I think the game, I mean, granted, my team won the national championship, in case you didn't know. But I think the game
did not know that.
was better this year. I think there was more parity. We had an argument over the Florida State or Alabama being the fourth seed. NIL has caused players to stay in school longer. No one ever mentions that. I mean, there's hardly any juniors going pro now or underclassmen. I think the game's really good. We have a 12-team playoff coming, which is exciting. But my Geek of the Week is now the commissioners of the Big Ten, Tony Petitti, and the commissioner of the SEC, Greg Sankey, for already saying, hey, this 12-team playoff we have going, let's expand it to 14. And better than that, let's just have an automatic bye for the winners of the Big Ten and the SEC, which is fucking insane that you would give a bye.
He cussed Eli.
Sorry. That's how nuts I think it is, that you would give a bye to any team in any league before the season even starts. And it's a money grab.
Well, first of all, you got to look at who are the big swinging dicks in football.
Oh, so
and
that's
it's
how
the
we're doing it
SEC.
today.
It's the SEC and it's the Big Ten. They got 18 teams now. And so what they're concerned about is that if you got to represent the other conferences, we got 18, the others have 10 or 12 or even less. So we need what it goes to show. Yes, I agree with you. It's a ridiculous proposition. You have to qualify on the same basis you'd think that everybody does. But it's just what happens when you have a sport that's completely chaotic and out of control right now. There's no NCAA overseeing it anymore. They can't. They decided they're not going to try and look into any NIL things and follow any rules that anybody has to follow. So it's become a complete mess, and it needs. And this is why the Big Ten and the SEC says we're going to take care of it on our own. The NCAA is basically done, and what they need to do now that the Supreme Court opened the door and say yes, these players deserve some money. You can no longer pretend that they're just students and not pay them. There's billions of dollars going on here. So what they need to get to, and I don't know, Shawn, whether it'll take a week, a year, or 3 years, they need to do what the pros do, which is to have negotiated contracts, salary caps. Yep. You got to know what people make. You have to, every player that's a professional, we know what his salary is, we know what the cap is, we know what the luxury tax is, we know what the market is, we know what this particular position is worth, what you can get paid for it, what draft choices get. It's all been negotiated. It is such the Wild West now in the NCAA that it's really going to hurt, I think, teams that aren't already at the top. Ohio State and Michigan are already recruiting powerhouses. Now they got a money advantage because of their more alumni and their recent success. And you got other schools that can't attract that kind of money. So it's a big mess. And that's why you have ridiculous propositions that Petiti just made, because nobody knows where it's going unless they can rein it in and get some type of governmental oversight to say, yes, we can negotiate these contracts. Yes, we can call them employees, it just has a long way to go.
The problem is they don't want to. They
need a equivalent of a salary cap.
For how long have we heard it's a business? It's a business. Well, it's about time they start treating it as a business, and because it's connected to higher education, people are just scared to do that. I don't know why. Can it be spun off into making it an LLC or making it a corporation that's part of the university?
Of course it can.
Yes.
Of course. In fact, my contention is the universities are already paying the players. I gave an example, Shawn, of a friend of mine who was a big donor at Michigan State. And he threw $100,000 in to bring Aiden Childs along with their new football coach, Jonathan Smith from Oregon State. As Matt Rule said this year, to get a good quarterback in the portal, you got to pay $1.5 million, and that's exactly what they paid for this kid. So if he gives $100,000 as a booster to Michigan State, and they then fork it over to the collective, then who's really paying the players? So it is an absolute mess right now. And if it's NIL, my friend isn't getting any. He doesn't have a business that's sponsored. He's not getting any NIL benefit. He's just supporting the school. And so Michigan State's I use them as an example, they're at a disadvantage to Ohio State. They already were in recruiting because of their location and their history. Now they're even bigger behind the eight ball. So this has got to be done in some way. Now there's going to be two tiers. You're going to have the ones that make money. The top 60 schools will be in one place, just like it was all Division I, Division II. Now you're going to have there are real student athletes in Division III, II, and some in one that do go to school because they want to get an education, and football is just something they do. So it's just complete chaos, and who knows? But as Mark was alluding to, it's never been more interesting than it is right now.
Well, that's what real quick, I just want to ask you this, because we've talked about narratives, and there seems to be this narrative that the sport is getting ruined. Like, I just hear that a lot. Do you think the sport is getting ruined by all this NIL money and conference expansion?
You asking me?
Yeah.
It's too big to get ruined, but if they don't rein it in, it'll fall apart.
You think so?
In many ways.
Really?
I think if the Big Ten and the SEC do what they say they're going to do and start their own league, then they will do that. They will negotiate contracts. They will have a salary cap. They'll treat it like a professional league, because that's really what it is. And that's what the Supreme Court. So there's so many billions of dollars in here now. You can't pretend that you're not a real business. And when they treat it like a real business, and employee costs are factored in as they have to be, then they will figure that out. And then there'll be different tiers. They can't all go under the same rule book from here on in.
Shawn, is the game getting ruined?
I mean, the game on the field has never been better. The talent, the skill, right?
Right.
So, and I thought it was nice to see a team not named Georgia or Alabama or Clemson.
Exactly.
Not that, I know you thought it was nice because that's your school.
Well, but we always had these dynasties in the past. I mean, USC was a dynasty. Miami was a dynasty. You just had, I think parity is kind of a good thing. And I think this massive amount of money coming in kind of helps the parity amongst the giant schools.
But
are you going to have another Boise State upset Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl? No. I think those
probably
days are
not.
done.
But I'd like to see the NIL capped or contained or spread a little bit more. I don't know how that would work without some form of, because then that's going to have the same effect eventually. Once this settles out, you're going to have to Eli's point, the teams of the biggest collectives. Not that money always wins, but generally be there.
But there's already been a disadvantage in money. It's just how universities have allocated it.
Well, what's happening is you're looking at NIL as salary. Every professional athlete makes some type of NIL. Travis Kelce makes a lot through advertising. LeBron James makes a lot. Some make a little. Caitlin Clark makes some, but that's only one element of how players get paid. They have contracts. There should be salary. There should be, a slotting of what a position gets. And I don't know how to really do it, but it's going to be the same way it is in pro football. Yeah, quarterbacks are going to make more than a defensive back, but NIL is just this contrived system through name and image that's some way they have to somehow get money to the player.
It was a baby step, right? Essentially, because it was so exploitative. Something had to change, and they started having to make money. It was getting almost uncomfortable for, I think, a large chunk of society to see this billions-dollar business, and the players get nothing. But to your point about Kelce, he didn't go to Kansas City because of that quote-unquote NIL money, because of the Campbell Soup money. They can make that wherever if they're good. If their quarterback is Patrick Mahomes, it's more random that way. That's my worry with college football. If the salaries don't equate on some level, not player to player by position, but just if Ohio State can afford to pay so much more than Iowa from here to the end of time, Iowa will never have a chance.
Exactly. That's why there is a salary cap in the profession. Baseball doesn't have one, but they have a luxury tax, which kind of works that way to a degree.
And that's what needs to change, though, to me. If unless you want the same teams every year.
Yeah. Well, no, you're right. So there should be. So let's say each team gets $7 million to distribute amongst its four, just the way the NFL does. The salary cap is $255 million, and they distribute it amongst 53 players.
Some system like that, I think, would help. I'm with you, Eli.
Yeah, but then again, look at professional soccer in Europe, right? No salary cap, no luxury tax, no nothing. And there's about 10 clubs that are at the top there. And you know what? That sport is doing just fine. That sport is surviving just fine.
College football ratings were down in part because people were getting, especially the championship games in the playoffs, because it was the same teams every year, and people were getting tired of that, which is interesting because dynasties at the professional level usually lead to great ratings.
Yeah, because why? Because you want to root against them as well.
Yeah, you don't want to root for them and it's greatness, or you want to check in and it's greatness, or you wanted to see them lose.
Well, Eli, thank you for taking time out of your day.
Can I take up one more topic?
Please.
One more topic. Another article I read today in the Free Press was Carlos Monarez, one of Shawn's co-workers, talking about how he was pleasantly surprised that Jason Benetti doing the first Tiger game yesterday sounded so stylish and so good. And he said, I thought Matt Shepard did a fine job, but you could see that he kind of tried to figure out, well, why do I like this guy better maybe? And he got into styles. And so in the larger picture, because you asked me about my career, is I can look back and say, you know what? I never became Bob Costas. I never became Jim Nance. I never became Mike Tirico. I never became all these guys that are at the very top of the food chain that are, face it, better than me, that were just more suited or had a higher skill level than I did. Now that doesn't, I can rue the fact that I didn't become that, or I can say I still did better than 99% of the others. So it brings us back to the Matt Shepard situation. Matt was there for 5 years, and trust me, when they fired him, I called him immediately because I know what he's going through. I know how much it hurts when you reach a certain level in any business and you just have maxed out. And he maxed out. He had a wonderful career. He can do many, many different things, but we don't do everything equally well. Shawn is probably a better sports writer than he is a podcaster, but he's still good enough to do a podcast, but you're still going to have the things that you do better than other things.
I'm a much better sports writer than I am a podcaster.
Of course,
I disagree.
Course, because so that's the point I'm making. Matt is a wonderful sports reporter. He can do many, many things, and he's had a long career that's taken him to many, many steps and levels to get to where he was. But the major leagues is really, really big, and making it at a network level is really, really big. I didn't make it that far, and so and the same with Matt. He still is having a great career, but Jason Benetti is just a talent that fits better to doing baseball. And baseball wasn't perfect for Matt, just like certain things weren't perfect for me. I did better at some things I did well at, some things I did poorly. And so the point is Benetti was a brilliant hire. I know that he's very well respected, and he's got that rhythm for baseball that's unique. It's different than the other play-by-plays. The other sports the action dictates the basketball is movement all the time. Yeah. Hockey is movement. Football, each play is separate. You talk about that, but baseball is 3 hours, 4 hours sometimes with very little action. And so it's filling in the gaps. It's having a sense of humor. It's being able to tell stories. It's being able to kind of joke with your partner. And so, Benetti, I think, is going to really be a star in this town. And at some point, be respected, perhaps like Ernie was or like Kel was, if he lasts long enough. And the only point I'm making is not to denigrate the guy he replaced, which is what I sensed that Carlos Monterez was kind of surprised. I thought Matt was really, really good, and he was. But this guy, he seems to fit the rhythm of the game better, is what I heard him saying. And so it's no knock on Matt, but it just shows that there's different talent levels, and it's very, very difficult when you get to the top. And people like him and like me and like the two of you, need to appreciate your professional accomplishments and not compare yourselves to those
I need
who went
to
a
have
little higher.
some
Just
first.
like with money, you don't compare yourself to people with more money.
I have no professional accomplishments, but I don't compare myself to anybody else, and I am a lousy podcaster, and I'm fine with that.
Knock it off. You're fine. Give me a break.
Completely fine with that. I just want to be a decent sports writer, columnist, whatever.
You're doing
Good.
fine.
You know what I mean?
Stop it.
I can't believe you think I'm a
you are
better
definitely
podcaster.
decent.
I can't believe you think I'm a better podcaster than as a sports
You
writer.
are. It's not even close.
That's ridiculous.
Because I get more of your personality when you podcast. When you write, I just read. I'm just giving you a hard time. Thank you, Eli. We appreciate
Thanks,
it.
guys.
I will
Thanks,
not
Eli.
make, I will
Good
not
to see
make you
ya.
hang around for what is now Sean's least favorite segment. Right, Sean?
All right.
Yeah,
Spare
whatever
me.
you say.
There's an all-night party in room 7609. And you can dance together all night if you've got the time.
Did you bring a song in today, Sean, or no?
I thought about it, but then I thought, Mike could probably send something in, so just play it.
So full of shit.
Just play it.
I'm going to tell you the name of the band, and I want you to, without hearing the song, tell me if you think it's going to be a good song or not.
All right.
Okay? That's the way I want to do it.
Let's do it.
King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard.
Who knows?
Come on. Do you think
I
it's
don't
going to base just solely based on the name of the band?
Who knows? It could be fun.
Oh, jeez.
Okay, I hate it.
I'll explain why
kidding.
this song after. But yeah, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, and the name of the song is Intrasport. So I guess it kind of fits the theme today.
Don't take it personally, this is not about you. I begin to slide and wouldn't throughout to shed till static silence in my mind. Find the rhythm and set course to collide. Don't take it personally. My hands are disappearing. And just so irritated. I am not needed here. dream about killing certain people. Dreams that to me are like slapping with a needle. Those feelings that I had were building up to something. I feel the skins of me running, now I'm running. My hair is liquefying. My taste buds are igniting. It's true, I am unfolding. It's all relative. Starting to feel something. I think I'm taking off. I think I'm feeling something. Will I evaporate? Is this new feeling something? I've got a buzz, I feel. I had to shed my skin. Get me
Well, that one is definitely very different. That is, once again, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard Intrasport. And that comes via ML, who is overseas right now, from a guy named Herman. He said, first of all, I would have voted for ML if I was in his district, which I suspect, is that the real reason ML passed this song along? Because he wanted to know that he would have had one more vote?
Who knows?
This guy lived in his district?
I appreciate the suggestion. We always appreciate suggestions. But,
Sure.
Hey, music is a very subjective thing, right?
Incredibly, yeah. That's the best. That's why it's
That's
so
all
fun
I'm going to say.
That's why it's so fun to talk about. That's very highbrow of you. You're taking the high road there,
No,
Shawn.
I'm not taking the highbrow. I've got a really fun email in front of me, and I want to get to it.
Let me finish this, guys, because he said this has been 4 years since his last 7609 suggestion. Figured I was long overdue, especially that one made the show and got the seal of approval from both you and me. So whatever Herman
Awesome.
chose last time, we liked it, and not so much
Awesome.
this time. But he said this band, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, they're a band from Australia, the epitome of eclectic. Their vast catalog runs the gamut from garage rock to synth pop to progressive to metal.
Penal colony.
You pick what, Australia?
Yeah. Just remember that. Penal colony.
Okay.
Messes over their indigenous people. We don't need to know any more about Australia than that, do we?
How American of them. But yeah, this
Yeah,
band
right.
needs
Exactly.
to pick a lane and getting it. Garage rock, synth pop, prog, metal, everything in between. Unsure if this qualifies as a story, but as I was scanning through our mutual favorite Sirius XM a while back, and noticed their name pop up on one of the alternative rock stations. Before I even heard a note, it seemed immediately obvious that a band with as stupidly cool as name as theirs deserved an extended listen. And that's kind of why I brought it up before we even played the song. So it said it was one of his faves. It said shades of new wave, heavy sick, jam it and enjoy it. So thank you.
I've always
for
loved
the
that sound.
feedback. And if anybody wants to pick a song next week that isn't Shawn, you can email to mlsoladetroit@gmail.com.
So we have a little feedback, do we?
Yeah, we are now in the feedback portion, so fire away.
This is from, cue that music. I love that music. This is from Kyle, who says, I'm a government employee who minds their business.
Yeah.
As we all, I guess, try to. And goes home and seeks out finding a bean plug.
You're going to have to listen to back episodes for that meaning.
But plug,
Yeah,
bean
yeah,
plug.
bean plug, yeah.
We can use our imaginations
Exactly.
with that. Okay. It's all I can think about since the romantic tales of lying on a Texas beach high on beans.
A man after your heart.
Oh God, I can't believe people listen to my silliness.
I mean, that kind of goes back to a story Elrick wrote about more corruption in politics, and I think people sometimes forget there's a lot of I don't want to say rank and file, but there's a lot of people that work that are government
that make
employees.
this country go, that make the government go, right? To keep us from falling into anarchy, and all they want to do is go home, maybe watch a
Raise their
show,
kids, yeah. Do whatever.
read a book, hang out with your friends, your partner, whatever.
And those people that are stealing money give a bad name.
And then escape to the beach and get high on psychedelics.
And beans, yeah.
No, that sounds great.
Another piece of feedback, I mentioned at the top of the show that we had an email about that big explosion in Clinton Township, and David emailed in. He said, "You're definitely going to hear about this. I lived a couple miles away, and holy shit, I thought it was thunder, but I looked. No clouds or rain. It increased in intensity, started rattling his walls and shaking his windows, and he actually thought that there was a gunfight outside. It sounded like a war. I could see smoke light up the sky.
Wow, and that was a couple miles away.
An hour, yeah.
Oh,
so
my
anybody
goodness.
that lived near that explosion.
It's just so sad, too.
Oh, I know.
Teenager.
Yeah. Now knowing that someone
can't even
turn on the music to get serious about that. But yeah, someone actually passed. So, yeah, that's the show. ML will be with us next week.
Does he have to?
I don't know. Maybe he'll just stay over there. Who knows?
Oh, let him.
I honestly don't
mess
know.
with the folks over there. He's a Anglophile anyway.
I honestly don't know if he expected to zoom in today, or I have no idea. But I haven't heard from him, so I guess
a nice break. The drive felt shorter over here today. I'll just say that.
Oh, okay. Well, if
you know what I mean.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for the support. I do want to plug our Patreon as well. You can get the ad-free show. You can get the video, so you can see how handsome Shawn looks, and as Eli was.
Look at me, stalker handsome.
I don't know. I got to fix your lighting because that
self-loathing.
There's
handsome.
a big glare off that.
That looks like a white chalkboard. It's like a grease board on my head. You can just free advertising up there. You can write whatever you want.
We should do that. We should start sponsoring your forehead.
Yeah, sponsor the forehead.
We'll put the Zot logo.
Or somebody that lives in my house used to say to me, Cro-Magnon man.
Those damn kids.
Yeah, no, wasn't the kids.
Oh, well, I'm glad she loved you.
Cro-Magnon man. That's it.
But for as little as $5, you can see the video ad-free. You can get, the show ad-free too, so none of those ads. And then it goes up from there. There's different tiers, so 5, 15, 25, 60. I don't know what ML will do for you for $60. So yeah, check it out. Patreon.com. Just search ML's Solo Detroit. And that's it. And until next week when the man returns, you want the honors?
Cyrus, take us out.
Can you dig that?
Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Oh, you have to get off here. I'm sorry. I'm sure we'll meet again.
I post a new episode
every week at the same time.
You have just heard
ML Solo Detroit.
Now you can follow other tense and exciting adventures of
ML Elrick.
The current issue of the Mysterious Traveler magazine, now available.